Sausage bag, saddle bag. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into things like bike packing, bike touring, the supple life, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy our videos, if they help you make a decision in any way, consider supporting the channel via PayPal and Patreon, where we get lots of sweet deals off of brands we truly love. So this video might be slightly controversial, but I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on using either a sausage bag, which I like to call them, you know, your bike packing bags, or this kind of sub-trend of using saddle bags on the front and the rear. So when I say sausage bag, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm referring to, of course, these bike packing style bags, which are essentially just a big dry bag that you kind of stuff things in, like a sausage. And I know I'm holding an Ortlieb here, but this really applies to all bags of this kind. So not picking on Ortlieb specifically, because I do love them as a brand. So if I'm completely honest, when these bags first came out, I was kind of like, meh. I mean, it seems just like a sausage, you know? You don't organize so much as stuff. You needed really minimal camping stuff to really make it work without having a billion other bags on your bike. Wasn't a huge fan of this style of packing, but you know, I embraced it. I tried out many bags. I did many trips using these bags because that's what was available. That was the only other viable option outside of using panniers, which I tend to typically prefer. And by saddle bags, I mean bags like this. This is a Bags by Bird bag, which is based roughly on a Carradice, although there are some kind of significant changes beyond just material, how it's intended to be used on the front, how it has another dowel here for kind of stability, and MOLLE straps on the bottom, so it's meant to be tied down to a front rack or rear rack. So yes, looks like a Carradice, inspired by a Carradice, but significant changes, and this can do many things that a Carradice cannot do. So a couple weeks ago, I did the Ochiko Overlander, and that was actually the second time I had done it. The first time I'd used traditional bike packing bags, and the second time I used a saddle bag. And in that process, it was a very stark and obvious kind of contrast to which style of packing I prefer. But first off, let's talk about the advantages of sausage bags, okay? One, they tend to be light. They're very stripped down. There is no hardware. It's basically just the casing, maybe some foam spacers, some buckles and everything, but typically not a whole lot of hardware. There are versions of this, like the Salsa Anything Cradle, that does start to incorporate a mount. Even the Blackburn version has kind of a harness. So depending on the style, it can be very light and it can be very simple. And the big advantage of this, of course, is that there's very little to break, just buckles and straps and Velcro. Another big advantage of bags like this one in particular, the Ortlieb one, is that it's waterproof. You know, if you're gonna do lots of river crossings, lots of trips where there's gonna be weather and you're super paranoid about getting anything wet, then definitely, you know, it's just a dry bag, a big sausagey dry bag. And for me, that's pretty much all the advantages. It's light and it's waterproof. Not a lot to break. It has a lot of disadvantages insofar as there's not so much an organizing system as there is kind of a just stuffing things in their system. Maybe I haven't given enough time, but every time I use these style bags, it frustrates me. I'm just gonna be completely honest here. Very frustrating experience. Also, by their nature, they tend to be very low volume. So again, you need really lightweight, kind of expensive camping gear to work with it successfully, especially if you don't wanna have things on your back or have, you know, all these other bags strapped to your bike. And another big disadvantage is that they're very specific to their use. Like, I don't think you could use this for commuting very well. I mean, you could use it for commuting, but when it's empty, it's just gonna be this flaccid kind of casing on your handlebar. So not very versatile in terms of using it every day. So let's contrast that with this guy. This is the saddle bag, this past Ochiko Overlander. I use this system in coordination with a smaller Carradice in the rear, and I friggin' loved it. One is that it's got good volume. It's got nearly as much, if not more, than a typical sausage bag, and how it's distributed is also important. I could fit more things in here, bulkier items, so if your gear isn't super ultralight, you know, if you use different compression bags and everything, you can typically make it work in this system a little bit better. There's also a little bit more organization. There are exterior pockets for quick access to things. You can open this up. surprise, and get into things rather than opening a side and like burrowing inside the sausage casing for items. Another thing I love about this style bag is that when it's empty, it still holds its shape. Like this bag, there's pretty much nothing in it, but it holds its shape. It's just a bag on your bike, not some weird flaccid thing. And because of that, because of its volume, because it holds its shape, you can use it for more things. You could commute with it. This actually fits my laptop. I can put camera gear in here. I don't have to pad it with all sorts of things so that it doesn't bounce around. It's just a lot more practical bag, in my opinion, with lots of advantages. This one in particular, you know, it's got molly straps here so you can tie things down to the top. It's also got a long flap option so you can capture things like a tent or other bulky items, fishing fly rod in here. So you simply just can't do that with a sausage bag. So what are the downsides to this? One big downside is going to be the price. Let's just get that out of the way. This bag and similar bags like this, like the Fab's Chest, they are easily over 200 bucks. I think this is $230 MSRP. And the reason that is because there's very few people making them. These are all coming from small batch makers like Bags by Bird, like Swift Industries. So there's just not the economies of scale. Whereas for the sausage bag, lots of manufacturers are now making them, bringing the price down. So a bit of a specialty item, bit of a cottage industry item at the moment. But I'm hoping as more people get to try this style bag and see its advantages, that people will slowly migrate from the sausage bag to this bag, and we'll see more manufacturers bringing the price down. Another bit of a downside here is that it is wide, but I would say the sausage bag is as wide, if not wider. So you definitely have to adopt a wider handlebar, especially if you're using drops. Nice thing about this guy is that it's designed to fit between 46 centimeter Salsa cow chipper handlebar. I know Jay at Bags by Bird, you know, you can change the bag in a couple of inch increments to have it fully custom to fit with your needs. Another kind of potential fit issue is that if you're running it on the front of your bike and you're not using a rando rack as support, or something like the Tumbleweed T-Rack, you do have to be very cautious of your handlebar to tire distance. If you guys saw the Ochiko Overlander video, you know that at one point I was getting tire rub. So I had to use additional straps to really lift this up to keep it off the tire. So if you've slammed your stem and don't have a lot of clearance, or if you ride a small bike, that's definitely an issue. In which case, you know, you just need to run a front rack. Between this and the sausage bag I ran at the previous Ochiko Overlander, for me, there was no contest. This is a packing system that makes more sense to my head, is more flexible. I think ultimately will work with more people, but it's expensive. I mean, that's a downside to this. I think for future trips, I'm definitely going to rock the dual saddlebag system. This guy in the front, another one in the back, because I think it just fits, you know, my style of riding, my style of bike touring. Clearly, we don't race, so we don't need like the tightest, smallest stuff. We like to have some luxuries, and these kinds of bags do offer a little bit more wiggle room for that kind of style of travel. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Are you guys a fan of the sausage bag or the saddle bag? Have you had the chance to try bags like this? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them. And as always, keep the supple side down.